This week on the Bubble Chat.
From former child actors regarding Diddy is just sickeningly familiar at this point. And let's be real, this isn't even the first time a lawsuit has been filed against him by a former child actor or a worried parent.
And or the complicated person, the one that's complicated. She complicated because she was voicing her opinion. Was she complicated because she knew her worth? Was she complicated because fill in the blank, but give us the reason why?
Like I said, even if we look at the systemic issue here, those officers obviously don't know her struggles or what families go through. I mean, according to the National Diaper Bank Network, nearly 1 in 2 U.S. families with young children cannot afford enough diapers to keep their infant clean, dry, and healthy. The CHN points out that disposable diapers can cost $70 to $80, if not more, monthly per baby. And low-income families in America end up spending twice as much as higher income families for diapers because they often lack personal transportation.
As the driver, I'm going to not make an excuse, but I want us to look at cultural differences. So let's say people here in California, it's like very, very laid back, it's gnarly, totally cool. Like it's so cool we talk slow like that. That man, they say your words matter. His words matter. They cost. They cost. We can speak wealth and value into people. Well, what he spoke stripped him of everything that he really has. So watch him out.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to the Bubble Chat. I'm your host, Jawan, and I am so incredibly excited to have you in the bubble with us today. We are officially in the thick of June, which means the energy is high, the vibrant vibes are everywhere, and we have a whole lot of matches to talk about.
This month we're going to. I'm sorry, nephew. I was between a swallow and a burp.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay. Let me just.
It
Let me
was
just.
about to be over.
Okay. Hey, you can just go ahead and I'll just edit around it.
This month, we are doing a major double celebration. First and foremost, happy motherfucking pride to the most motherfucking beautiful LGBTQIA plus family out there. You already know that this podcast is a safe, joyful space for living authentically, sharing your truth, and celebrating the freedom to be exactly who the fuck you is, loudly and proudly. But the celebration definitely does not stop there because it's also Black Music Month. And you cannot talk about the culture or the music industry as a whole without honoring the monumental impact of Black artists. So grab your snacks, maybe get some tea to sip, a blunt to roll. Sit back and let's get right into the motherfucking conversation right here on the Bubble Chat. So before we start, how you doing, nephew?
How you doing?
You ready to jump in these hot topics?
Let's do it.
Good.
We got a lot of tea to spell.
Okay, now look. Now y'all know we have to pivot into some incredibly heavy news making headlines right now, and it involves the ongoing legal fallout surrounding the Sean Diddy Combs. A new lawsuit has been filed by a former child actor identified in the documents as John Doe, who accuses Combs of sexually assaulting him back in 2007. According to the complaints, the incident took place at a networking event in the Hollywood Hills. The accuser alleges that once he and Combs were in a back room, Combs offered him an alcoholic beverage, made small talk, and then began rubbing his arm. The lawsuit states the male actor accuses explicitly told Combs he did not feel comfortable with the way that he was being touched, to which Combs allegedly responded by trying to get him to relax. this lawsuit is just the latest addition to the continuous and mounting legal troubles for the music mogul who is currently incarcerated, okay, because he's in jail. Whew. As a reminder of where things stand globally with this legal situation, Combs is currently appealing a federal conviction in New York on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Lord, it ain't tricking if you got it. A case that resulted in a prison sentence for more than 4 years now, and he gonna get out probably at the ending of next year. That'll be way before the 4 years up. Now, guys, nephew, what do you think this specific case reveals about the historic lack of protection for child actors? It's not about Diddy, it's about these children in Hollywood networking space. And do you think that the industry is actually doing enough today to change that power dynamic?
As devastating as this is to read, it's unfortunately not a surprise. Hearing those stories come to life from former child actors regarding Diddy is just sickeningly familiar at this point. And let's be real, this isn't even the first time a lawsuit has been filed against him by a former child actor or worried parent. It's kind of like this pattern that people have been trying to blow the whistle on for a very long time. It actually makes you look back at the history in a completely different but much darker sentence. For example, Diddy previously hosted a kids' toy store back in 1998, and some resurfaced footage from this era has been making around online, leaving so many people feeling absolutely sick to their stomach. In that old clip, Diddy performed during a televised ceremony, completely decked out in an all-white outfit, because he was rapping alongside a group of background dancers who were matching his look, and he kept those signature dark sunglasses on for the entire duration of his set. He performed his 1997 hit "It's All About the Benjamins" and Maze, who, as we know, has previously weighed in on all this controversy, was right there acting as his hype man. And they even played a portion of "Mo Money, Mo Problems." But I feel like it's the way the performance ended that looks so incredibly eerie now. The set wrapped up with his background dancers laying completely flat on stage with several black balloons scattered all across the floor while Diddy interacted with the audience, doing his host duties to keep the energy of the crowd up. Um, knowing we, knowing what we know now, is the imagery is just deeply unsettling. Because when you actually look into at the actual civil lawsuits that have stacked up against him, they include explicit allegations of inappropriate conduct with minors, and a lot of these additional accusations link his behavior directly to his gatekeeper role in the music industry. The plaintiffs claim make he will make these grand, sweeping promises to elevate their careers and make them stars, but only in exchange for sexual favors. Now, that's be legally clear. He denies all these allegations. His team is still pushing back on everything. But look, I have to say what we're all thinking. There is absolutely nothing to relax on when it comes to being touched inappropriately. I don't want to hear bullshit about his freak offs. I don't want to hear bullshit about this baby oil foolery. None of it. It's predatory, gross, and it's about time the full scope of the reality is laid bare.
Well, this is what I have to say. From Usher to Justin Bieber, to a lineup of a lot of younger stars who are now adults now because we get older every day. My thing is, and I've said this before, sometimes it is insulting to be talented. If in fact they're going to rape, rob, molest, take advantage, manipulate, con, like I mean, some allegedly, killed. They say they took Aaliyah out. But this is a multifaceted topic or conversation because Diddy, like R. Kelly, like Mr. Cosby, we can't take away their attributes to the culture. These are very, very talented men. And they've actually opened up the door for very, very other talented people, man, woman, older, child, it doesn't matter. It just seems that it is corrupt. Maya Angelou said, when they show you who they are, believe them
Believe
the
them.
first time. But who are we as public fans and spectators? We don't know these people like that. And I mean, depending on how you want to look at it, social media has done a justice and it has done an injustice to the celebrities, to the whole culture. It exposed what we see, what we are exposed to, what they project when they project who they are on a good or bad scale. It is there. Now we have this what they call it, the digital fingerprint, once it's there, it never goes away, all these things. And it's sad. It's sad. It's worrisome because even though, and think about it like this, even though that actor, child actor, they I don't know where their career stands right now or what they're doing, but there are a plethora of children who aspire to be stars in some form or capacity. And it's that is not what that's not where your dreams crash and burn, and that's not where they take off at the same time. When someone is gonna, or when someone is willing or low down to take advantage of you in that moment, So for all you pedophiles, sexual abusers, go to hell, bitch, and when you get there, burn twice. And we're going to prayers up for all those that, we want to keep in the hands of God with his love, grace, and mercy on all of us.
Yeah. Well, moving on, we are heading across the pond because singer Perry Edwards just went on the Great Company podcast with Jamie Lang. I do hope I said that right. And she did not hold back. Perry spoke up about the lens of for the first time about Jesse Nelson's incredibly high-profile split from the group back in 2020. And she opened up about the total breakdown of their friendship. Perry essentially confirmed what a lot of fans suspected behind the scenes. I mean, that Jesse was difficult to work with, and at least at times to me, and noting, and I quote, sometimes you just won't win with people. She also confessed that it really upsets her when someone refuses to own up to their own actions. And you can tell that there is still some deep-seated frustration there because Perry straight up called out Jesse's past comments. She said, so then to sit there in interviews and be like, I was deported, you were though. Like the bluntness. She completely set the record straight on that victim narrative. Naturally, Jamie asked her the golden question, is there any chance of a reunion or rekindling that sisterhood? And Perry's response was a masterclass in setting boundaries, while admitting that part of her wanted to wait until the documentary, and then part of her wanted to withdraw again. And she wrapped it up by saying that if you would upset her and hurt her in a way that there's not really any going back, she can forgive, but she doesn't want her in this or in that space. Honestly, protect your peace, Perry, but woof, the drama is real. What do you think about Perry finally drawing that line in that sand after all these years? And or Adonis, what are your thoughts on this whole situation overall?
Oh, okay. Now these people is your generation's people. So
Yes,
forgive me on layman
right.
terms. Tell me who they is and what was going on.
So, so Perry Edwards was in a girl group called Little Mix along with Jesse Nelson, and then Leanne and Jade. And in 2020, Jessie moved on from Little Mix because it was taking a toll on her mental health.
Oh, a
So
little mix.
yes,
Okay, I think I remember. All right. Um, and so what happened? They broke up, and what happened?
from what I've the research that I gathered, or their friendship somehow ended because Perry alleged that Jesse was difficult to work with at times, and
Hmm.
like she and like their need and like she gets frustrated when Jesse wouldn't take accountability, and I think we've seen all of this in some girl groups back in the
I
day.
was gonna say the same thing. This is a historical thing that has gone on, even in the fictitious story of the Dream Girls, that wasn't even real.
Right, right. I was thinking of that too.
Right to the Supremes, who what the Dream Girls is supposed to be based off of. To and it's not about necessarily being. It's not always someone being complicated to work with. Someone wants to be the star, XYZ, blah 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 blah. So we have Dawn from In Vogue. She was supposed to be complicated to work with. You know, it's what it's like sometimes it's like define complicated and or the complicated person, the one that's complicated. She complicated because she was voicing her opinion. Was she complicated because she knew her worth? Was she complicated because fill in the blank, but give us the reason why? Some people say some girls have diva complexes and they think they're bigger than the program and everything revolves around them. Well, be very, very specific in what you're saying, you know? Um, I would just hope or I'm wishing her success with or without the group, in or out of a group, talent is talent, so I just hope that her
So
will be recognized as well as the other young ladies as well.
yeah, I actually had the opportunity to listen to part. All right, hello.
And what happened?
Okay, sorry. This somehow snapped off, and I don't know why, but I put it back on.
Okay.
Anyways, I had the opportunity to listen to part of this podcast episode where Perry did explain the fallout, and honestly, I listened to it several times. And look, I can't speak for everyone's perspective on this, but I will speak for my own. I just find this whole thing so incredibly sad, to be quite honest. I've been so into listening to Little Mix and learning about their journey from the X Factor all the way to their massive hits. You could always see that genuine friendship and chemistry that all the girls had. So to hear that this fallout took place, it can honestly be overwhelmingly full of emotions. And that's exactly how I felt when I was learning about all of this. When it comes to Perry speaking up about these so-called difficult moments with Jesse, it made me feel a certain way. It's honestly hard for me to say, but about 50% of me thinks that the management behind Lil Mix is partially to blame for how all of this shattered. Because let's not forget that when Jessie was still in the band, she went through hell and back. She was dealing with relentless trolls cyberbullying her, severe body image issues, suicide attempts, and massive mental health struggles. I've actually explained in a previous episode of this podcast or of how Jesse moving on from Little Mix felt almost like a termination because of how it was all staged and rolled out. And Jesse definitely explained that perspective in her documentary as well. And I want to make one thing completely clear. I am not here to paint a bad guy on any of them. I'm not painting Perry as a bad guy, and I'm definitely not painting Jesse as a bad guy. Nobody is the monster here. In fact, Perry did even open up and said that most of this was Jesse's fault in its entirety, and she's not trying to say that she's a bad person or a monster. Perry just wanted Jesse to take some genuine accountability. Because let's be real, if I were in this situation where I wanted someone to just admit the wrongdoings instead of trying to get defensive and deflecting the blame, I'd be pissed off too. It actually reminds me of when I saw the play Flex, which was directed by Margot Hall over at SF Playhouse. Afterward, I was having a conversation with one of the cast members about the core of the play, and how it really focuses on taking accountability for your actions instead of being a Mr. or Miss Blaming on the role. And we were talking about how a lot of adults, myself included, still have a hard time with this from time to time. And even I am still dealing with and learning how to navigate that. And just like you said, Don, it's about Dream Girls. Effie was trying to be a Miss Blaming on the role when because I know and I saw it too. I saw it where she just wants to try to be defensive to her sisters. What's that girl? What's that girl's name played by Beyonce? A
Dina.
Dina Dina James, I think. Dina
Uh-huh.
James and I think her name's Arel.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah,
Lorraine.
yeah. And ultim and as far as this thing, ultimately, um whether Perry or Jesse ever want to reconcile or not is completely out of my control or anyone else's control. I'm sure at this point, all they can really do is wish each other nothing but the best from afar. And as for the rest of us, whether you've been part of the fan base or you're just looking at it from the outside, all we can do is let them give each other the space and time they need to both heal from this.
That's right. Time heals all things. Well,
Yeah. Well, moving forward,
I got you. Hold on, nephew. Oh, this is sad. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, this is sad. On Sunday, June 14th, a police officer shot and killed a 1-year-old boy named Cohen Wiley while also critically wounding an adult, all while responding to a shoplifting call at a Walmart parking lot. According to reports, the officer opened fire into a silver sedan where black baby Cohen was inside. Members of Cohen's family have completely denied that any shoplifting ever took place. WREG reported that right before the gunfire erupted, a witness saw the two women exit the store, one simply carrying a single box of diapers and the other carrying the infant child. Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who is now representing the family alongside with attorney Van Turner, claimed that the mother was actively trying to communicate to the officers that her baby was in the car, but shots were fatally fired at him anyway. The officer involved has been has been placed on administrative leave as the investigation begins, but the community is rightfully demanding immediate accountability. Turning this over to you, Adonis. When a call for a box of diapers escalate into a 1-year-old child losing his life in his mother's arms, it exposes a catastrophic failure in standard police response. How are you processing this nightmare, and what needs to fundamentally change to stop this state-sanctioned violence against children and families of color?
What state was this in, nephew? It didn't say it.
Mississippi.
Okay. All right. Now we have a little bit of context. And was the officer
Yes.
and were the victim?
Yes.
All right. Um, First off, prayers up to the baby and the family. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I mean, it's not funny or anything like that, but when you was reading the story, I was like, Walmart got more of them falling prices. We got bodies in the parking lot. But then it was being a baby or infant. Now here's the gag. Um, Back to social media. We can look at a video and see how tensions, anxiety, and energy goes high and awry real quick. So, have you seen the footage, nephew?
I don't think there was any footage, but
Okay,
even if
okay,
there was, it would be
right,
honestly
okay.
extremely, if I
So,
may, Adonis, I'm sorry, but even if there was footage, I don't think I would really,
you
even if
want to see it?
I mean, it would be honestly is shocking to hear a baby be crying from those gunshot wounds.
Well, so this is what I was trying to get to. So it said that they were it was a shoplifting call, and
Right.
they were saying that they stole something, right?
diapers, a single
Okay.
box of diapers.
I'm gonna consider her feelings of being offended as a new mom, as a black girl, all the things. And so I would assume that maybe her energy was a little bit heightened. Not that it would cause, because if her energy was heightened, then why didn't she get shot? They shot the baby, right? So, I'm just wondering, was there any measurement of miscommunication? If she was upset, if we arguing, we going back over if I ain't did shit, fuck that.
There was a miscommunication of whether the diapers was stolen.
Yes, right. So but I'm just lost on why he shot inside the car.
Right, because the mother was trying to let the officer know that the toddler was in the car, but then like I said, the officer drew shots anyway, and
And that's what I'm saying.
I
So
think and I think also really quick, sorry, Adonis.
go ahead.
Also, from what I know, one person who noticed Otis them getting the diapers called the police. This is from what I know. I don't really know for sure,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's just really, really embarrassing on all parts. The mother, the person that called the police on her, the cop, and the baby. That is so embarrassing on all parts. Because the way that
Right, because I
ended,
think I think the mother was racially profiled.
and I totally would agree with that. I can agree with that. And that's so unfair because from her being racially profiled, we've lost the life of her child.
Yeah. When I first heard this news, I was at a complete loss for words, and honestly, with where I'm standing at right now, I still am. Um, we're talking about a toddler who was only a year old, a baby,
Yes,
and
not
the
even
most
five.
fucked up part about this entire situation is how these officers
He
completely
on administrative leave. He didn't get fired.
in the vehicle and just started shooting. It just makes me so sick and honestly fucking livid because we have seen this exact nightmare play out numerous times where people of
Over
color,
and over again.
specifically black,
Mhm.
are being killed by the police officers or non-black individuals over the most minor things imaginable. We remember Trayvon Martin being killed over a bag of Skittles, Tamir Rice over a toy gun, Latasha Harland over orange juice, and we even talked about this case last week, Cyrus Carmack Belton over bottles of water that he clearly didn't steal. It even brings to mind the movie The Hate You Give, both movie and the book The Hate You Give, with Regina Hall and Amanda Sternberg, where Star's childhood friend is killed over a hairbrush because the officer just assumed it was a weapon. Now, from what
Mhm.
I've researched, Valencia Wiley, who was Cohen's mother, completely denied that police claims that her friend was shoplifting. She explained that the purchase of those baby diapers was very likely caught on camera, right, in the self-checkout line. And on top of that, she hasn't even been charged with a crime by the police. So I know it's highly unlikely that those diapers were even stolen in the first place. But even if we look at it
You
at
know
the
how
systemic,
malicious it would be to charge her with that now that you've taken her baby's life?
um, okay, daughters, let me try to finish up real quick. Um, but even like I said, even if we look at the systemic issue here, those officers obviously don't know her struggles or what families go through. I mean, according to the National Diaper Bank Network, nearly 1 in 2 U.S. families with young children cannot afford enough diapers to keep their infant clean, dry, and healthy. The CHN points out that disposable diapers can cost $70 to $80, if not more, monthly per baby. And low income families in America end up spending twice as much as higher income families for diapers because they often lack personal transportation and to get out to the big box stores where they're cheaper. And I've been digging into numerous reports looking into whether a receipt was found for those diapers, which makes it incredibly likely that they were paid for. But like I said, the officers didn't care to know Valesia's struggle. So even if hypothetically that one single box wasn't paid for, the absolute least these officers could have done was de-escalate the situation. They should have tried to get an understanding of what's happening, learn if she was struggling, and maybe point her towards some court mandated community service instead of like threatening jail time. Because at no point, at absolutely no fucking point, should an officer do something so irreversible such as taking the life of a toddler. Now, Cohen's mom will never get to see him grow up to turn 2 years old. She won't ever get to drop him off preschool, watch him walk across stage at high school or college, see him get married or have children of his own. All of those milestones were completely stolen because of a callous, reckless act. This is a pattern that has been going on in this country for God knows how long. It is cruel, unforgivable, and something that I will never ever understand.
Prayers up to the families. Prayers up to the families and all those involved. Well, all right, on to a little bit lighter note. We have to talk about this crazy footage that just dropped over TMZ involving Offset. Things nearly came to blows in Monaco. It is absolutely chaos. So TMZ obtained a video of Offset getting into a massive heated outburst on Monday. In the footage, you can see him looking visibly furious, squaring up directly with the chauffeur right outside of a black van. Offset is repeatedly calling this man a biatch and straight up accusing him of grabbing women by the neck. At one point in the video, you can actually hear Offset warning the driver, telling him that if he touches another woman, he's going to beat him up himself. Well, according to the people who were right there on the scene, this entire incident went down around 9:37 a.m. local time in Monaco. And the timing makes sense. It happened just a day after the city wrapped up its massive star-studded Formula One Grand Prix weekend. So you know the streets were packed. According to the source, Offset was just incredibly upset. Isn't that crazy? Offset was upset at how these women were being treated, and he was simply standing up for them. Well, apparently, multiple witnesses at the scene backed him up, claiming they saw the driver allegedly put his hands on the ladies first. What do you think about? Well, what do you think about how Offset handled the situation? Do you think more artists should use their presence to intervene when they see things that are going wrong in public spaces? What you thinking, nephew?
No comment, to be honest.
Okay, we'll leave it on me. Well, let's just give it up to Offset for actually standing up for the ladies' integrity and their safety.
Let's give him up for that.
Yeah, let's give him a round of applause for our acknowledgement for that. As far as the driver, I'm going to not make an excuse, but I want us to look at cultural differences. So let's say people here in California, it's like very, very laid back. It's gnarly, totally cool. Like it's so cool we talk slow like that for some reason, right? And then they say, people in New York are like rude and or mean, and how like Russia or Korea, they are very, very aggressive cultures, aggressive dialogue and the demeanors and things like that. So I don't know the laws or the rights when it comes to women. I don't know what is, excuse me, accepted by law when it comes to interactions with women. I don't know if they were doing something that permitted the man to need to ward them off with using his hands. I don't know. But like I said, I'm going to give a round of applause and let's just acknowledge Offset for doing something noble for the ladies that were there. Now, We talking about hands, feet, dogs, and paws. All right, now if you thought pop culture world couldn't get enough or any more surreal, wait until you hear about what happened and what had went down in Washington, D.C. at the house that's the color of white rice over the weekend. Now, for the first time in history, a professional sporting event was held right on the presidential residence at 1600 Pennsylvania in the South Lawn, okay? And it transformed it into a UFC Freedom 250. Now, it was massive, star-studded affair meant to mark America's upcoming 250th anniversary, but the actual sports history has completely taken a backseat to a massive wave of controversy on social media, where the internet is absolutely buzzing over the post-fight interview, okay, following a heavyweight bout where prospect John Hockett secured a second-round TKO victory over veteran Derek Lewis. Now, right after exiting the stage, or the cage, I should say, Hockett walked straight up to the presidential Trump's ringside, sat down, and presented him with the chain. Took it off his own neck, put it on Donald Trump's neck, right? But then it was the actual interview with the commentator Joe Rogan that completely shifted the energy of the night. Hockett decided to cap this evening off with these degrading remarks about the former First Lady Michelle Obama, and I refuse to say what he said, okay? Because they talk about her mislabeling her gender. So she was a woman. They're trying to say she is the opposite, and that's not true. That's not nice. That's disrespectful. Okay. Now, the reaction inside the venue was totally split. The crowd gave a completely mixed response, prompting some heavy boos from sections of the audience, while also drawing cheers and laughter from others. Now, bubblers, how do you see this impacting the broader relationship between professional sports and political spectacles moving forward?
It is 20 fucking 26 for crying out loud. And here we are still hearing the exact same tired, damaging racial stereotypes weaponized against people of color. And the thing that the people in power or think it's okay to normalize this, it shouldn't surprise us when we look at how the administration has been acting lately. We've been seeing the White House social media accounts using artist songs on videos on deportation raids caused by ICE completely insensitively, ignoring the artists themselves, calling it evil. And while we remember when the official White House channels posted that disgusting AI content depicting Michelle and Barack Obama being referred to as eight, still don't, and I will never understand how someone in power or whoever the hell is in charge of these White House social media platforms thinks they can just do this without having to face any real consequences. Nor will I ever understand how Josh Hockett would even have the absolute gall to stand up there in the front of a million people watching him live and make a comment like that. It's just trash. Period.
Well, let me tell you what happened. So when he won that fight, and like when an actor wins an award, you can demand more money moving forward. Well, when he said what he said, he totally capped his pay at where it was. When he said what he said, he lost all and most of his endorsements. When he said what he said, Mr. Barack Hussein Obama himself filed I can't say the D word. It's a D word. I'm not going to say it correctly, so I'm not going to say it at all. But he said a word. He filed a case or complaint against that man. So that man, they say your words matter. His words matter. They cost. We can speak wealth and value into people. Well, what he spoke stripped him of everything that he really has. So watch him out. Watch him out. Okay. I'm up 3 times in a row. All right. So look, y'all, as we keep this double celebration going for Pride Month and Black Music Month, there is one absolute icon we have to shine the ultimate spotlight on. And if you want to talk about a living, breathing masterclass in Black creative queer excellence and pure unfiltered artistry, biatch, I'm talking about none other than the beautifully exquisite Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe is the absolute blueprint for what it means to be a modern, multi-hyphenate singer, songwriter, producer, award-winning actor, author. They actually literally do it all. And they do it while being fiercely, unapologetically true to themselves. As a non-binary queer Black artist, Janelle has spent their entire career tearing down boxes and building entirely new worlds for the rest of us to live in. From their early days, giving us flawless sci-fi concept albums like The Archandroid and The Electric Lady, to the liberated, sun-drenched, joyful vibes of The Age of Pressure. Janelle has consistently used music as a vehicle for radical self-love and Black liberation.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, y'all. You know how we do it on the bubble chat. Sometimes the conversation is just too good. The culture is moving fast, and we cannot leave you without a little bit of extra flavor. So we are officially moving on to our new segment, and we are throwing a total curveball into the mix today. It is time for a bonus hot topic. Adonis, what you got for us?
Well, child, the maybe bonus. Well, child, the major bonus hot topic that has the internet completely losing its mind right now is the none other than the Smize Queen, her motherfucking self, Tyra the Banks. All right. Now she has officially filed a massive defamation lawsuit against Netflix over how she was portrayed in their recent docuseries Reality Check Inside America's Next Top Model. Now, according to the legal documents that just dropped, Tyra is claiming that the streaming giant and the show's producer used selective editing, deliberate omission, and surgical manipulation to completely manufacture a false and defamatory villain narrative about her. The lawsuit highlights two massive, deeply damaging claims made in the docuseries. First, it addresses the heartbreaking situation that involved Cycle 2 consistent Shandy Sullivan and with the infamous trip to Milan. And the second major point of the lawsuit were the longtime co-star Miss J. Alexander, in the docuseries, Miss J claimed that Tyra never even came to visit him after he suffered a stroke back in 2022. Now, Tyra's legal team is clapping back hard, stating that she was never given an opportunity, during the interview to respond to that claim. So the co-host. No. Okay, so it was a question. I'm sorry, guys. So, co-host, knowing how much editing shapes reality TV, what are your thoughts on Tyra Banks taking a stand against the documentary format itself? And do you think this lawsuit will force streaming platforms to change how they edit these retrospective exposés? What do you think?
I have such mixed emotions about this because two things can be completely true at the exact same time.
At the same time.
Part of me totally feels like this documentary absolutely went out of its way to paint Tyra as the ultimate villain. Because let's be real, we know that a lot of the contestants who entered that show did not have a good experience. So when former contestants started speaking up on what happened behind the scenes, even before the docuseries started to take place, and we all learned about the extreme challenges they were forced into, challenges that were deeply problematic when it came to their race or their mental health. The internet went crazy. There are endless video essays and TikToks dragging the show's legacy. So when the docuseries dropped, probably felt completely exposed. It feels like the questions weren't designed to let Tyra speak for her actual truth, but were framed to trap her in a corner for a maximum shock value. But then the other part of me feels like, okay, is this lawsuit being filed specifically to protect your ego? Because when you watch the docuseries, Tara tries to defend the show by mentioning those wild concepts were just what her audiences was asking for back in the 2000s. But even if that were true, that doesn't excuse the fact that some of those challenges were incredibly uncomfortable, unfair, and completely forced onto young models who felt like they couldn't say no. It is honestly tricky because I hate manipulative editing. And if they really chopped up her words to make her look like she didn't care about Shandy or Miss J, she has every right to sue. But at the same time, Tara has a massive ego on that show, and she had spent years trying to maintain this image of being the ultimate nurturing mother figure to these models. Seeing the curtain pulled back and facing the music for the toxic environment top model created is clearly something she wasn't ready to handle. So you can't really blame everything on the edit when you were the one holding the gavel at the judging panel.
Very much so true. This is one of those multifaceted conversations. So this is what we do know. Let's just go down the facts. There are only maybe 5 beauty icons that we know from America's Next Top Model. That would be Eva the Diva. That would be Ashley. I don't know her last name, but she's the plus size model, and she's walked down Victoria's Secret's runway year after year after year after year. So we have Eva, Ashley, Yaya, right? Isn't Winnie Harlow? Isn't Winnie Harlow from American Next Top Model?
Yes.
Okay, and then so maybe the top 4, because I'm only able to name 4, but I know there's probably a good 5 of all the cycles of all those girls. That's just like, think about America's Next Top Idol. Jennifer Lopez did not win. She's a star. Because you understand what I'm saying? Everyone that didn't win American Idol still became iconic. When it comes to America's Next Top Model, of all those beautiful faces of cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle, we only really get to remember maybe 5 of those faces. Another fact, Tyra Banks would want us to believe that she didn't know that we were witnessing her make history in front of our eyes in real time. And she didn't know the kind of impact that she was making. So to go back when you said that she said that that's what they were asking for, yes and no. We were asking for a continued bird's eye view of the modeling industry in those bizarre photo shoots, the energy that you have to give traveling, the booking, and all the calls and all those things. Those are all very, very valid points, and they all really will make the construction of a wonderful super model. The thing is in anything that is great, there would have to be like sacrifice. You're gonna have to risk to get the reward. So at this point, I'm totally confused on what the risk was. I'm totally confused on what the reward was. At
The
the end
risk
of
was
the day,
mostly not to get it. The risk was mostly whatever of what you got to do in order to not get eliminated.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. But the risk of it in totality. you know, I don't know what the reward is now, because you would seem like the one that was winning, Tyra Banks, that made all this money, made all these enemies, and failed all these girls. They made her out to be the villain. Whether she is or is not, to whatever capacity we want to put her in, she's suing the people because she got done dirty at the end of the day too. So, you know, guess what? All is fair and love is war. Not saying that she deserved it, but I mean, what goes around comes around. Karma's a bitch, and she'll bite you in your ass like a juicy red apple. Well, my loves, I'm going to turn to Mr. Rogers and let you know that, my friend, brings us to an end of another motherfucking incredible episode of The Bubble Chat. The time absolutely flies when you are in the bubble. And I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for tuning in and hanging out with us, bringing us your amazing energy into this space tonight. Make sure you don't miss a single beat of what we have coming up next. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure your notifications are turned on all the way. You can also follow us on social media to keep up with the conversation and to keep it going in the comments. All right? And don't be afraid to DM us all week long. So, until next time, y'all take care of yourselves, look out for one another, and keep living your absolute truth loudly and proudly like those beautiful colors in the rainbow. I am your host, Adonis motherfucking Concierge, signing off of The Bubble Chat, wanting you to stay safe, stay blessed, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye, motherfuckers.
Bye, motherfuckers.